Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories about how to reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your life on your terms. So today, I'm your host, Sheila Mack, actually, and today we have special guest, Linda Mitchell. She is a leading women's health expert, award-winning fitness competitor, best-selling author, top 50 podcast host, fitness boutique owner, and creator of the Sisterhood of the Sweatband. That sounds fun. And she is also a graduate of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is really important to know. There's a lot of trainers out there that don't have a clue about how you're supposed to eat, nutrition, and doctors. So it's really good to find someone to work with that actually has that information. All right. Linda has also worked with dozens of thought leaders such as Heidi Powell, JJ Virgin, Natalie Jill, Anne Louise Gittleman, Dr. Will Cole, Dr. Lori Schmeck, and Elaine Lalaine. She has appeared on ABC, NBC, and Fox, and has written her own column, Fit Over 40. And we need to keep going on those numbers. And has spoken on numerous stages, including Podfest and Women's Future Conference. I love that. Well, welcome to the show, Linda.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Sheila.
Great. So tell me, how did your journey go to get into all this health and fitness? Were you always that way, or did something bring you to that?
Well, when I was growing up, my mother suffered from manic depression. And I remember knowing I didn't understand it at the time. And I knew I didn't want to suffer from the same depression. And I remember doing exercise. I think I did an exercise video, and I felt so great, and it like lifted my mood, my endorphins. I felt empowered, so many things. You feel stronger. It gives you confidence. And so that's really how I got started. I really got hooked into it because I didn't know at the time, but it's nature's antidepressant, one of the best ones.
Definitely. I love that. And this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so talking about going through depression or having a relative that has depression, one of the best things to do is to just get them to take a walk with you. Or if you're going through a depressive state, changing your state makes all the difference. Taking a walk, doing some form of exercise just gets you into that flow. And I don't know, for me, I have to exercise kind of hard in order to get to that level. So for me, I really need to do a good hour of something that's aerobic, or, swimming laps or something like that, because then I'm in a meditation. I call it meditation in motion. And I'm away from every problem, every situation going on this crazy year. And I'm just in my own beautiful place. So it's good for your body too. And I know people have struggled with the COVID-20 plus and, couch surfing on our own couches for 8 months almost now for some people. So what advice do you have for people that are, okay, they did get that COVID-20 or so, and now they're like, okay, I'm done with this. Things aren't going to change. I'm done with the couch. I'm selling the couch, and I'm going to get back on track. What suggestions do you have for people that are getting back on track?
Well, I would say get outdoors and just start with something basic, like going for a run or a nice power walk, listening to a podcast so you can fill your mind with positive thoughts, because right now, if you're listening to the news, it's all gloom and doom. I hate to say it, but if you could fill your mind with some positivity about what is right, what is working, it's going to go a long way to improving your mental attitude which also really is what gets you out and gets you moving in the first place. It's got to start up here in your mental mindset. Then you're out there, you're moving, your juices are starting to get flowing. I find your creative juices really flow when you take a power walk. And a Forbes article I read recently, has Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and all these famous CEOs all attesting to walking meetings because it helps to shake the cobwebs out of your brain. And also, you're just going to feel so much better once you get out, get some vitamin D, which is going to help. I have been hearing the experts say it does help to get your vitamin D to help ward off COVID. And just to feel better is going to go a long way to everything you're doing. I mean, being cooped up inside is, nothing short of a little bit depressing.
Yes, yes. So it is. We are learning so much this year about how to do things differently. In fact, I'm actually coming to you from a recording studio that is in my community center sports club because the internet at home does not work good enough for these type of interviews. And so I'm surrounded, I have no excuse. I am surrounded by it every day now. So it's such a blessing, and it really helped me, even though I was upset my internet wasn't working enough to do these shows. It helped me to just go somewhere different and have a work time and then a workout break. It really makes a difference to change the scenery when you're working from home, especially to create a time to go out and be with other people. Or even if you're going to a recording room, I talk to people and then I end up, okay, let's do a class together tonight. We're having an exercise happy hour. That's socially distanced at our club. So I have something to look forward to this evening, and we're going to do like 2 hours of Zumba dance as a fundraiser. For breast cancer awareness or something. So we donate
That's perfect.
dancing. And so it's a beautiful thing. Or I could have stayed at home, but then just put on the music, right? And start dancing around or do something. So tell me more about your story as far as, have you in your life hit a rock bottom, or maybe one of your clients hit a tough spot, and how you or your client got back on track?
Well, I've went through many tough spots. Being 58, you don't get through this life without some struggles, but you can make your mess your message. And that's exactly what I've done. My rock bottom was when I was 28 years old, and I am a survivor of domestic violence. And this is also Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month. And basically I was faced, with the choice of, sink or swim. And I had to get out for my children and for myself. And so I made that choice to leave the bad situation with nothing, literally nothing, the clothes on my back. And I was full of gratitude and thanksgiving to just be alive, breathing, and in leaving that existence behind in a peaceful situation. And I remember going to a meeting. I was at the perfect place at the perfect time. I worked at the YWCA, and they had a domestic violence shelter at the time in-house. And I went to this meeting. I was to do the fitness for the ladies, because that really does help empower you. And I'm at this meeting, and a lot of them were talking about their stories, but then I found that some of these stories were like ongoing 10 years, and just, I knew in that moment, I did not want to live in my story the rest of my life. I wanted to leave that story behind and create a new story. And then in my heart, I decided someday when I have the resources, I want to have a place for women where they can change their story, where they can feel supported, where they can feel seen and heard and unafraid, and feel like somebody has their back, so to speak.
Mhm.
So, long story short, I'm in that space, and it's called the Sisterhood of Sweat. It is a fitness boutique, but it's a podcast, books, and a movement. And it's just strong women. The sweat stands for strong women empowering, achieving together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I also, in my book, have a chapter devoted to abuse free, getting free from abuse. And it goes into free resources and gifts to help people find these shelters and different ways to get out safely. And I think that a lot of times when you work with people that are in an abusive situation, especially you had children, if you have children there is a fear of getting out safely,
Right.
and that's the thing where you need to be able to be willing to ask for help when you
Yes.
need it, and have a good, like, you had this shelter, this where you worked at the Y that was there for you. What a gift. And a
Yes.
lot of people don't even know that kind of thing exists. So hopefully just getting this message out, if anybody needs to hear this, there are shelters all over the United States and in different parts of the world now where women can go with their children to be safe. And I think also it's very important to have a plan of how you're going to exit. Like you said, you had to go with nothing, but you have everything because you have you and your kids.
Right. You do have something. You
Yes,
have your life,
that's
and you can turn it around at any moment. The
exactly.
moment you decide, the moment you choose to stand up to your giant, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be domestic violence situation. It could be any kind of giant in your life that intimidates you, that causes you to live in fear. Standing up to your giants is the way to rescue yourself and have a better life.
It is. It is something about the F word, fear. And once we overcome, that is the worst F word I know of. And when we overcome that fear, then we're able to overcome other things don't scare us anymore. We're like, oh yeah, boo. It doesn't bother us because we've walked on the fire. We've gotten through one thing and then we know we have the strength to do another. And as a parent, as a mom, getting out of an abusive situation and bringing your children, what you're modeling for your children is strength, is how to be strong in adversity, how to ask for help when you need it, how to restart and rebuild. That's the best. That's better than any textbook. And it's like, you know what? And this is a standard. This is how I am to be treated, and this is how you are to be treated. And if somebody doesn't treat you that way, you need to get away. And so it's something, it's not, it doesn't have to be said, it's lived. So it's very empowering for your children.
And that was the biggest. I mean, I should be the reason, but that was the biggest reason. It started turning towards them. So then I really had no choice because they're my responsibility. And then realizing that that's the example they're seeing. You don't want them to grow up thinking that's okay. And now all of my children are college graduates
Mhm.
and amazing. And we just, financially, I'm debt free. I stepped into the biggest earnings that I could have ever dreamed this year during COVID.
Yeah.
And so, when COVID hit, we were like, oh my goodness, I had to throw my business. Well, if I had a business plan, I never started with a business plan. It was all heart. But I did hire people, experts, and consultants to help me with my brick and mortar store. So here we are. I have this whole consultant plan that I bought and paid for. I had to pitch it out the window because it wasn't the model for COVID when your gym has to close for 3 months.
Mhm.
And I just thought, hell, this is survival mode. I've got this. When you really think about in your life, what have you been through that was tough before? You got through it. you can get through this. I've been through way harder things. Being knocked across the floor is way harder
Right.
than just figuring out how can I serve my clients and how can I help them on Zoom? How
Mhm.
can I, serve everybody out there? What is it that my clients need right now? What does everyone need to feel connected? Yes, my store closed. What am
Mhm.
I going to do about it now? Assessing your situation. So I really just assessed uh, what does everyone need? And what they needed was connection. So we all got on Zoom and we all connected. You could see everyone. I'd have the workout. I'd either put it in the chat or send it to everybody so they kind of knew what was going on besides me just being there leading it.
Mm.
And they loved it. That we were more connected doing that than we ever have been in the gym. So what happened was I ended up getting more people than I had before. And now that's part of my business model.
Mhm.
And not one cancellation, not,
Oh.
no, not one cancellation, because you can always find a way to pivot no matter what your circumstance. And there's always a gift in the adversity. So I just really looked for that gift.
Mhm. Yes, and I find that that is the secret. Once you find that gift, the difficulties tend to disappear. It's almost, there's the scientific belief, you put your intention on something, whatever. There's a spiritual thought to that too, depending on where you're coming from and what you believe. But it's like if you're focused on only the negative, you're going to get more negative. Because it's almost like you're looking for it. And, like I caught one of my kids, my college kids that are now doing online school, saying, okay, what bad thing is going to happen next? And I said, okay, let's switch that up. What good thing is going to show up now? And so every time you go there, and every time we go to cursing 2020, what energy are we putting on the rest of this year and jumping into our new year? So if we're blessing it, if we're saying, putting good intentions and thoughts on the year and looking for the gifts, looking for solutions and ways to connect with people and give back, that is going to make all the difference in how we lead. It doesn't matter if you just started at a job, you are the leader with your energy. So imagine even going to a gym. You imagine somebody coming in and they're in a negative attitude, they're in a negative mood, and you're like, everybody's exercising. They don't even talk sometimes. They're doing their own little workout, and it's like they feel the negative energy. Well, the same thing is true for the positive energy. It boosts everybody.
It transfers. It's actually contagious.
Yes, and it just we need even more of that this year than ever. And it's the beginning of an entire new decade. So I think we're reorganizing on many levels as a society, as humanity, and maybe we were all sent to our rooms for a little bit. The universe was like, what, everybody just go to your room right now, and we got to rethink how we're doing things. And it gave us time to pause and rethink, so this way you can reinvent your life. I mean, you literally reinvented your entire life and have this incredible journey that you went through, working with all these companies and raising your children now that are graduated from college.
Yeah.
And that is incredible. That is proof of what is possible, that anyone can do, even when you left with absolutely nothing but everything because you had yourself and your children. That
Yes, you're about making me get a little teary eyed right now. But I will just say, uh, again, no matter what is going on in your life, if you look for the gift, you can find it. And like during COVID, I know it was hard for everyone. We're all like, oh my gosh, what now? What do I do now? How do you run a store when it's closed? And I actually would gotta say, I just looked for what I could do, because I also had during a fitness competition 2 years ago, I completely ripped my hamstring from the groin.
oh,
Um, so I had to have it reattached. And during that time, I really just kept looking for the gift. in what had happened. And really what I found was sometimes you have to slow down to speed up.
Yes.
And during that time, I got clear on my message and my mission. And I started stepping into my biggest, boldest, God sized dreams. And it's just that seemed like the worst thing that could ever happen because I freaking love to compete
Yes.
and love doing my fitness routine, love doing a bikini competition, and it seemed like the worst thing because I wasn't allowed to move at
Mhm.
all.
Oh,
I was harnessed in a harness to
oh,
90 degrees, and I had to sleep like that. And 4 months of telling me, put the brakes on, girl, and the doctor puts his glasses down over his nose, and he's like, if you break it, I'm not fixing it. Like he was like, he knew that he had to hold me down because I wanted to get back to it. And I
yeah,
tried and I
right.
tried too much and had a couple more injuries. So learning from that experience was focus on what you have right now, focus on what you can do. Don't focus on what's canceled, what you don't have anymore. And I found during COVID, it was a lot. I wanted to have Elaine Lane at my grand opening and Dr. Lori Shimmick, who's a Fox News contributor and also a best-selling author. And I wanted to have Amberly Lago, who basically survived a motorcycle wreck, 37 surgeries, and almost had to have her leg amputated. I wanted these awesome guests at my grand opening of the Sisterhood of Sweat. But that didn't happen at the time, which was a year ago. But do you know, I asked them all, would you, I thought, what could I do for my clients? What could I do? They're showing up so great. How can I really give them a reward? And I was like, I'm going to have a virtual happy hour. And I invited Elaine Lane, Dr. Lori Shimmick, Amberly Lago, and I said, you guys you can come on for 10 minutes.
Right.
And you don't have to come for each other, but if you'd like to, this is what time we're starting. Do you know that they all came, all my Sisterhood of Sweat, all these wonderful guests, an hour and a half, and it was the best. People said it was the best Friday night end they ever spent.
Mm.
And people, I mean, it was so magical. And this all happened because if you think your ideas are too small, you know, you're not going to do them. But just if you have an idea, just run with it and see where it might lead. And now I have a new show because of all of that, and I just think like that happened. And then I really have been feeling called to speak.
Mhm.
And so I've been speaking, and I was like, okay, I thought I was called to speak, but look at what's going on for the next year and a half or who knows how long. I'm like, how am I gonna speak? And then I got invited to Women's Future Conference as a
Mhm.
virtual speaker. Before that, I did another speaking engagement at Podfest. So like, it's just really amazing if you really look for what you could actually do. It's a lot more than you think. You could get on Zoom and teach workouts. You could cook. I did a whole cooking thing for my tribe. I always wanted to have a kitchen for everybody, like so
Uh-huh.
we all cook together. So I sent them ingredients and they all got in their kitchens we made healthy Japanese souffle pancakes.
Oh,
And so like that was fun. We all did a healthy cooking experience. So I'm just saying like there's so many ways, so much cool things that you could do that you would never even think of when you
right.
were too busy in your job.
Yes, this has been a gift, a real gift. So now you work with other people that are looking to get healthy, as well as other owners, gym owners, and health professionals. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a lot of people that come and do speaking podcasts and then we try to get together and have events.
And it's really interesting. We are the direct reflection of our peer group. That's something Tony Robbins says a lot. And so the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, now you can really decide, hey, I want to spend 5 people, and they could be all over the planet, and you will be able to connect with them on a Zoom, through a podcast, through an audiobook, and learn from them. So it's changing the way we do things, and to remember that we can exercise just about anywhere, that it doesn't have to be one thing or one way. I might have to sell my couch to not sit out there anymore. But for now, I actually put little arm weights. So anytime I sit there, I'm doing like little weight exercises, and then I've got an exercise ball instead to sit on. So that if I'm sitting there watching a show with my daughter or my son that's home from college doing online, I'm like, okay, this is like, if I'm going to sit here, because we want to be in community and they want to watch, hey, I want you to watch this. Okay. So I'm sitting there kind of to be with them as a family. I'm like, okay, but I'm going to try to move right now and do something to get rid of those COVID little extras. And so those little things, like what kind of tips can you give additionally to people that are maybe struggling with getting back on track?
So make it simple and bite sized so that you can actually do it. Don't make it so hard that you feel like you failed the first day, because if you feel like you failed, you're going to quit. Nobody likes failing. A
Right.
lot of times you're just like, oh no, I just already tanked because I ate that or whatever. So I like to tell people, instead of drinking that gallon of water, start out drinking in the morning. As soon as you get up, drink 2 glasses of water. And if you could do that 30 minutes before each meal, 2 glasses of water,
Mm-hmm.
right there is a huge road to weight loss. First of all, you're going to feel more full. Second of all, you're going to eliminate and digest better, which is huge for weight loss, elimination and digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have more energy. Most of us are running around dehydrated most half the time. So that's a simple thing you can do. Most of us all have access to water.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna take a drink right now, just for that.
And then, besides the walk and the run, you could find, I mean, depends on what you like. Like if you like Zumba or, whatever exercise lights you up inside. If it's just dancing to your favorite tunes, I know dancing makes me feel better. I turn on some music and dance around with my dogs, Pumpkin and Snickers,
Oh.
and they're my dance partners. So I don't know, but I would just say find that thing that really lights you up, and you could probably find it on demand, or you could get into a live Zoom class and make all kinds of friends on the Zoom while you're working out.
Mm-hmm. I like the live classes. I was always a group person. And although I have things at home that are alone, I have a reformer, I have all kinds of things. But the group class or getting online and having an instructor lead me through what I'm doing so I don't like make a wrong move and end up with an injury or whatever makes a big difference. And now that's all accessible for a very fair price.
Oh, that, yeah. And I find people a lot of times will show up on the Zoom, though they could just drive down the street because we're open.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have the best, of both worlds.
Exactly. That is so good. So nutrition, you studied nutrition, and I know since you were doing, what is it called, where you're getting competitions, that's
Yes,
like you have to really, I don't know much about,
dial it in.
I need to learn more, but I know it's like a timed measured where you're really precise about how you're eating, but how you're fueling. So food
Right,
becomes your fuel. And could you
right.
go more into how somebody that's starting to build some exercise, how they could fuel a little better so that they're saving more muscle and losing more fat at the same time, which is like everybody wants to do that. And that's the fueling part.
So shop the outer aisle of your grocery store and stay away from the junk in the middle, the stuff that will last for 10 years in a box,
Oh yeah, no.
crack in a box. Stay away from that. Uh, you don't want really high sugar substances. So you got to look for that in your white flour, your pasta. Wheat could be high sugar. Many times I have people steer from gluten,
Mm-hmm.
from anything that has any kind of gluten.
Right.
We really cut back that dairy. I like to do a process of elimination, so we cut it out a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So getting rid of the wheat, the dairy, the sugar, and just eating fresh food, real food,
Yeah.
real food that nobody manufactured. It really is just what flies in the air, swims in the sea, and grows in the ground. And so that's how I try. I try to make it really easy for people. Just get away from all the processed food, the stuff that has, pesticides and GMOs, and, try to eat more organic. You could look online and look up this list called the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen, that's the foods you do not want to eat because they are sprayed
Oh.
so much with pesticides. And you'd be surprised when you start eating real food, you're not going to be as hungry. When you're eating fake food, you can eat right through that and keep going because
Mm-hmm.
it's fake. It doesn't satisfy. But when you start eating real food, if you could wean yourself off of things that have overpowering taste, eventually that real food, when you eat a sweet potato and you have some cinnamon, and if it's not sweet enough for you, a little stevia, which is a plant sweetener,
Mm-hmm.
or you could put a little olive oil on that, or I even do real butter if it's grass-fed butter.
Right.
Delicious, melt in your mouth, and you're like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever eaten.
And I think it can take a little while for people to adjust. I remember years ago, when I was very young, like 18, 19, I stopped all fast food. Like I heard something about the fast food and I heard the MSG and this, that, and the other, and I decided to stop that.
Yeah.
And it was a habit. And my friends and I, it was a group of friends, and we were going to the Loch and Yatawai. And we were together and we had this thing where we were going to give up the fast foods. And I honestly, to this day, will not, well, not sorry, fast food people, but I won't go there. I will not go to a fast food place at all because I want I want to know what exactly I'm eating. Like you said, it needs to be something that's a whole natural food. And
Well,
really helped. And it's interesting because when we started that, I literally it was like a drug addiction. As far as there's something in that, I don't know if it was the MSG that they were putting, and all of us felt the same where we were like literally like, oh my gosh, we got to get our fix of whatever. And I said, I'm buying beautiful food. Back then it was Mrs. Gooch's before Whole Foods, in our little neighborhood. It was this beautiful organic store, and we'd all go together and shop, and it was beautiful. And then I'd be like, I made these beautiful meals and it didn't satisfy the craving. And it took about maybe a week or a week and a half before I stopped craving what wasn't serving me anymore. And then it was like, then I could never go back. you know, like,
that is so great.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I have clients that tell me their frou-frou coffee with the pumpkin and the spice and the latte. And I'm like, when I'm done with you, you won't want that anymore because you'll be able to taste how much sugar is in it, how fake it is. And they didn't believe me, but one of my clients came to me like, oh, you're so right. I can't drink that anymore. So if you want to get off sugar, the best thing to do is cut it completely out because sugar is like a drug,
mhm.
and it's 8 times more addictive than crack cocaine. So, and this is a fact. You can look it up.
Yes, and it's really, if you have any type of a condition or situation, it may even require it. For me, I have celiac, I have PCOS, I have all these different things that I can't have sugars. So for years I've done, now they have monk fruit, which is a
Yeah,
natural sweetener, and stevia, and that's all I do. And I cannot do a lot of sugars because of the situation of my own health needs. And it was kind of a gift. I was like, okay, I can't eat cake because, or I can't do this, or I can't do that because if I do, I get sick. And so that really was a blessing. Now I don't drink alcohol, so that's an important thing. Alcohol is it's like, I don't know how many cups of sugar. It's
right. And it goes
many
straight to the
alcohol.
liver.
Yes, and so that's something that's hard for some, but that could be the difference. And some people can manage, their bodies can metabolize the sugars better, and so they get away with,
Right.
until a certain point, until a certain age or
Yeah.
shift, and then it's like, "Oh, that doesn't work anymore." What?
Well, the sugar turns to fat in your body, and the hardest sugar to get off is alcohol because it does go straight to the liver, and your liver is your biggest fat burning organ. So
Mhm.
if it's all clogged up with doing so many jobs, it can't burn the fat off. So that's when you'll really see a lot of weight gain around the middle
Mhm.
is, that, and also drinking too much caffeine because caffeine spikes your blood sugar as well. So much, right?
And that was the one thing for me. I'm just getting back on my wellness journey again after, you know, that whole sitting on the couch for too long, the 8 months of COVID, of not doing as much. And, I have to step up my game a lot with the situations I have to deal with the PCOS and this and that. And the doctor specialist told me, hey, I mean, they made me log every freaking thing and they're like, okay, you're healthy, but you know what you're doing? Even though you're not putting anything but stevia or monk fruit, that coffee is spiking your insulin. And that's what's really, and I was
Right.
drinking coffee, and everybody who knows me well, and they know that I would have my healthy coffee even. I would get bulletproof. I love coffee, but
Oh, right. I
it
love,
just, yes,
yeah.
yeah. So there are better coffees, and it depends on your body and metabolism and what, talk to your doctor and check. But that has really made a shift in just starting to get off. I mean, like, I had to go, like you said, no, just 100% cold turkey, no coffee. And it has made all the difference. And I am getting up earlier. I mean, I have a 5 a.m. morning show also. And so I'm getting up
You
earlier.
are a busy girl, Sheila.
And I'm getting up earlier and I have more energy. It took about, again, another week and a half. So it seems like that's like the magic number, 7 to 14 days, where you get it out of your system, maybe. And all of a sudden, things, maybe you're burning differently or something. And it's incredible. It's so different.
Yeah, and there's so many things about caffeine. The thing is, yes, a lot of people can get away with it, and it actually proves to enhance your performance. But there comes a time where you may not get away with it, especially if you're in menopause, because you lose all of the estrogen practically. And then what kicks into play is cortisol. And your caffeine can spike that by 27%. And
Wow.
that's another thing then which would cause you to hold around the middle. So I would just say maybe getting some maca, which is it helps to balance your hormones and gives you energy, and it doesn't spike your insulin levels, or some matcha.
Mhm.
Maybe drinking green tea a little, which is less caffeinated. Uh, Trying to eliminate stress, because also the stress is going to cause your cortisol to go, and you don't have the estrogen to absorb some of that stress anymore. So
Mhm.
that's why you really have to watch your stress in menopause. Getting sleep is number one for weight loss and lowering that cortisol.
That is so important, and a very important thing to bring up, because this year we have had, I mean, we must be as a nation producing more cortisol than ever, with all the different curveballs that have shown up, all the different things that we turn on the news and we try not to, but you hear about it somewhere on social anyway. You're going to find out by the end of the day, you're going to know if it's serious. And that has caused a lot of us to be in a cortisol place, which causes insulin resistance, and a lot of where you're not able to actually lose weight, even though you might be pretty clean, because you're in that high cortisol level. So doing the meditation, letting yourself sleep. I mean, okay, this, because I understand. I mean, I was in the junior Olympics for swimming as a kid, so I loved to exercise. That was like
Oh,
part of
that's super
it.
cool.
And so I understand that that was my meditation in motion. But what advice do you give for dealing with when you have an injury like you did and the cortisol is going up, and and you're stuck in bed, or you're,
That's probably why I had my injury. Let me
yeah,
just say,
okay.
nobody explained to me that when you go menopause, it isn't just your bones. It can also be your muscles that you have to be careful with. And because I was, I think I did six contests that year.
Wow.
So because I was pushing myself so hard,
Hmm.
my cortisol was spiked because of overtrain. Probably what you would consider for a 58-year-old or 56 at the time would be a lot more than I should be doing.
Hmm.
So it set me up for that storm, that
Right.
cortisol storm where I had my injury. So I had to learn to walk away from any argument.
Hmm.
Well, if you're having any, a relationship, I know, you argue, better to walk away from it and don't engage. Observe, don't absorb.
Right.
So that's number one. Getting your sleep, getting your Z's, going to bed on time,
Hmm.
making sure you are exercising, but you're not over exercising, and just getting that meditation and breathing in. I like to listen to the Women's Meditation Network.
Uh-huh.
They have amazing free meditation. The lady's voice is like like a tranquilizer.
Hmm.
And I really have to say I suck at meditation because I fall asleep every time.
Yeah, it took me a while to learn. I mean, I literally, I went to the monks in India and stayed there for a few weeks to learn to meditate, and I was so bad because I never sat still that long, and I had been rear-ended. It wasn't a bad injury, but it was enough for me to be able to get a doctor's note to give me permission to get up and walk every hour. And I literally did it more because I was like, I can't mentally sit here for 8 hours a day. And now I do meditate for 2 hours a day, one in the morning. Like before I get up, I start with a meditation. And then before I go to bed, I do a meditation, and it kind of helps me to unplug and unwind. And that has really made a difference. I would have never in a million years thought I could ever figure out how to do the meditation.
But
So,
it is key. I think I do moving meditation. I
mhm.
really feel when I do a run that I am meditating.
Yes, yeah. And I'm swimming laps. I can still swim 3 hours of laps, literally. And then they feel like, whoa, how does she do that? Because your muscles have memory, and you just go. And I am in the flow. I am getting rid of so much. That is my deepest meditation, is my lap swimming. And it's been tough this year because the pools were closed, and I did not get a home with a pool. So I have these beautiful pools up 2 blocks from my house. There's two gorgeous pools at this country club area that I live in now, and we couldn't use the pools. And so that really was a tough thing to not be able to do, because
Right. You had to find a new way.
yes, so
And,
yes.
I will just say, like with the injury, when you can't move, Focus on your nutrition, because it's 85% what you put in your mouth is
Mhm.
85% of your results.
Yes.
So focus on the fork workout. What's on your fork?
That's so
And
true. Yes, so
And
true.
if you haven't ever worked out, like some of you guys out there, maybe you're not, you've never worked out, and all of a sudden this COVID-19 has hit and you find yourself with serious weight gain, I would just tell you, give yourself permission to suck until you don't. If you're doing some kind of routine that seems like overwhelming,
Mhm.
everybody had their first day. Like, I remember the story so clear. I had a gal come to boot camp, and there were two of them, and one of them was, she felt like she was always the slowest, she felt like she was always the last one. The other one had been coming for about 6 weeks, and I had the superhumans show up at boot camp that day. It isn't my normal day, but people that were like top trainers, athletes, uh, fitness competitors. For some reason that day, they all came to my class. And the one gal got discouraged because she was comparing herself. And she said, this is intimidating to me. And the other girl said, well, she said, how do you feel about it? And she said, well, I'm just here to get in shape, and I'm not worried about everybody else. So that would be my advice, because the one girl didn't come back from the run
Mhm.
outside. The other girl has been with me ever since, and this is 7 years, and she lost 70 pounds.
Mhm.
And now she teaches boot camp for me. So
Love
she
that.
went from, the slowest to the mostest.
Yes, it's like yoga even. It's like what you do on that little teeny mat is your yoga. And it doesn't matter if you're in a class with 50 people and maybe you are more flexible than the others or whatever, or you're not. It doesn't matter because you're improving each day a little bit. And it's your time. It's your body. And the good opinion of others doesn't matter. It's
And really, nobody's judging you. Everybody's in their own little world,
you're all
really,
for each
truthfully.
other.
Nobody cares about what you're doing because they're so into what they're doing. So
Exactly.
all that is going on in your own head. So
Right.
get out of your own way and just realize that if you have to embrace the suck a little bit. I have to say
Mhm.
that, because
Mhm.
doing burpees, most people don't love,
No.
and or whatever
Right.
might be your nemesis, and just do the best you can every time and give your best effort, because it's the people that show up, put
Mhm.
forth the effort, and are consistent. It doesn't matter how slow you are, how your performance is. If you consistently give your best effort, you will get in your best shape. I watch it time and time again.
Definitely, definitely. And we are coming to the end of the show. So is there anything you'd like to share or how can people connect with you?
Oh, well, you guys can find me at sisterhoodofsweat.com and on any social media platform at Sisterhood of Sweat. And I would just like to tell all of you out there, you're stronger than you think.
All right. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. We will see
Bye.
you next time. Bye bye.